You have Roy Keane snapping Erling Haaland just like how he did his dad a few years ago. I have to wonder, do you know another FIFA/FC YouTuber named Brom18? Hey yo people, welcome back to the Brom Squad gaming channel. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A to celebrate hitting 20,000 subscribers. I didn't think I'd hit 5,000, 10 or 15. But here we are on 20, and honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I do appreciate each and every one of you who have interacted with the video. That could be liking, disliking, subscribing, commenting, all of it. Because it's all pointed to this moment right here. I feel like I've made it, It's 20,000 subscribers, which is an incredible achievement. It's a milestone in the grander scheme of how everything might play out, which hopefully means, you know, 1 million subscribers at some point. But in all honesty, like I'm really grateful to every one of you, because whether you've, you know, given me a comment and been like, maybe you should change this, or that's amazing, my dude, like it's a great video. I've taken all of that on board. I've always taken criticism or good comments or whatever, and I try and improve certain things. And it's gotten me to this point. So without you guys, I wouldn't be here. So you guys are the best. Anyways, let's hop on into the questions. There have been 18 questions submitted. Now, some of those questions have multiple answers to them, so it's probably 18 plus questions to answer, and that I will be trying my very best to be open and honest with everyone. Anyways, let's hop on onto the first question, which is 3 questions, and that has been submitted by David16 Minecraft. Very nice name. Says here, congrats on 20k, my friend. Thank you very much, good sir. I've gathered 3 questions preparing for this. Beautiful, I love it. What's your plan for the channel going into FC26? And will you expand into other games besides FC? So, the plan for FC26 is to make as many YouTube videos as possible. Lots of tactics. Many tactics videos. Look, I don't want to spoil or give too much away, but I am thinking of other video type ideas. I would like to have a career mode going for a large majority of FC26 because I want multiple episodes of it. But it would be like a slow cooking career mode. I don't know what the team would be. I don't know who the players are or anything like that, but I would like it to be similar to the Montpellier career mode, where we were very tactical about how we handled situations and teams and who we brought in, and very analytical, because I like that sort of thing. And quite a few of you guys also liked it, to the point where you were asking me where the 3rd episode was, and I was like, I haven't done it. I'm sorry. Fun fact, I actually did play out the entire of the 3rd episode. I just never got around to editing it. And up until a few months ago, maybe, I ended up deleting all the raw footage and casting the Montpellier career mode to the ash heap of history. We ended up winning the league, which was cool, but I would like the career mode for FC26 to be a nice, long, drawn-out career mode that's got a beginning, middle, and end. It knits all these different things together. It's got all these different aspects to it. It incorporates a lot of the newer features that I've heard so much about for FC26 career mode in it, and that would be really cool. Other than that, I'm not going to say too much, because just now I can't fulfill some of those things that I'm saying right now. Past Brom Squad will get future Brom Squad in a lot of trouble, and I don't want to do that. So there is that. But I am thinking about ways to try and improve the channel, add more entertaining content onto the channel for you guys to hopefully enjoy, and obviously help the channel grow even more. As for the second part of your first question, will you be expanding to anything other than FC? Now, it's quite difficult because the way YouTube's algorithm works and stuff, unless you're a YouTuber that's started from ground zero and you've made the channel virtually all about you and you're swapping and changing games all the time, it's quite difficult to start off on something and then rapidly shift to other things. Unless you become like a superstar, KSR, so on, so on, and so on. You can't really do that, especially not with a channel this size. A lot of you guys are subscribed for the FC content or the footballing content. Now, I've also been thinking of, you know, other football games to try and bring onto the channel. Football Manager. I see you also mentioned eFootball. That's an option, but I don't really enjoy eFootball that much, so there is that too. But when FIFA 2K does come out, whenever that is, I will be playing it. And if I do enjoy it, I will be featuring a few videos on the channel, and I'll see how you guys as the community interact with that video, because if it's positive or if people do like it, you best believe I'll be adding FIFA 2K tactics videos onto the channel, and maybe other things, maybe a career mode or two. I don't know. It's an idea. It is an idea. If I were to incorporate other games, it would have to be football games. On to the next question. Will you ever at some point try Ultimate Team or maybe eFootball 26? Now, jumping to eFootball quickly, I don't like what PES has transformed into, and I know they got taken over and it became eFootball and stuff. I don't like the way that game pans out or how it works. I used to be a big fan of PES, and if eFootball is any good, I will definitely try it out. But if it is any good, yeah, I would definitely incorporate a video like that on the channel, or a few videos. Like I genuinely wouldn't mind. As for Ultimate Team, I've never been a fan of Ultimate Team, to be brutally honest. There's been a few people who have said you should try out Ultimate Team, you should make tactics for Ultimate Team, but I just don't like it. I've never been a big fan of the whole money scheme, and maybe if you're that person that just grinds super hard every weekend, fair enough. I take my hat off to you. But I don't agree with the whole scheme behind Ultimate Team and how that gets pushed up on a pedestal compared to the rest of the game. And as like a very stubborn point, I just don't enjoy it. I don't think I'd ever bring Ultimate Team onto the channel. But you know what? The future is uncertain. So maybe at some point, but for the time being, I don't see myself doing that. On to your next question, and it says here, lastly but not least, okay, will you consider live streaming? Now, live streaming is something that I would love to do, but I can't do it right now. One, because my Wi-Fi is not the greatest, so you wouldn't get much of a live stream. But eventually, when this channel hits like 100,000 subscribers, okay, I'm joking, hopefully before then, but when this channel gets a bit bigger and so on, I will definitely be looking to improve the Wi-Fi situation that I'm currently in, and hopefully that can lead to live streams, because playing a career mode live episodes would be cool, or showing you guys how I actually, you know, come to the decisions I make for certain tactics and ways of playing certain formations. That would be great, and I would love to interact with you guys even more, obviously in the live chats and stuff. So it is something that I've thought of, it is something that I would love to do, and hopefully I do end up doing that. The next question is from Padto Made. I'm sorry, I am going to butcher quite a few of your names. It's all love, no hates. I'm terrible. Have you heard me pronouncing football names? And those are players who get announced on TV all the time. Forgive me. Pointers, he said, congrats on 20k. Thank you very much, good sir. Do you think you might do a career mode series? I've kind of already answered this. Do you think you might do a career mode series where you make it as realistic as you can to what's going on in real life or the real world? Yes, be short, blunt, and to the point. Yes, I would love to do a career mode series. I think the way that I would do a career mode series would have to be very different from a lot of people. And I was onto something with the way that I did the Montpellier career mode. I've spoken about this, I know. But it would be something along those lines. And it would be interesting, well, hopefully it would be interesting to a lot of you guys, and hopefully the support for that career mode series would be good. I think for the first 3 months of FC26 being out, there will be a career mode on the channel. It's been announced. I've done it. I hope that answers your questions, broski. Well, this is not a question. This is just a few emojis, but thank you very much. Maudur1. This is a person that comments on a lot of my videos, and I truly appreciate you. Always commenting, always asking things. I can't always do the video requests that you ask, but I always do appreciate the comments, the likes, the shares, and the interactions and all that good stuff. So thank you. So the next question is from Sarvesh Waran 9500. Congrats, you deserve more. Hopefully 30k by the end of the year, people. 30k. We pray. What's the next update on the channel? Are you going to see more realistic career suggestions as FC26 is coming soon? Do you have any other plans? So, of course, the how to start a realistic career mode was something that I've been doing for a little while, but it's only become a real video idea or consistent video that I've been doing in FC25. And I think a lot of you guys really like those videos. It gives you an idea of how to start certain things off. It's not always super accurate because I do more or less search up the transfer links and stuff in that very moment, and obviously within a few weeks / months those transfers are outdated or the players have moved on to other clubs and you got to start all over again. So I will be doing more videos like that from the very start of FC26. Maybe we can come up with like a schedule or a routine possibly. I might discuss that in the Discord of what the schedule should be, and I'm going to try my very best to try and stick to that schedule for FC26, but I will be doing more videos like that. Maybe what we can do is in the Patreon, we can decide week in, week out what team I need to do, and obviously the Patreon subscribers will then have the choice of who we do and who we don't do. So that could be an option. And then do you have any other plans? I do, but I don't want to, say them out loud just yet. Just know that there will be a career mode, there will be lots of tactics, and there will also be how to start realistic career modes. So there is that. That's 3 video ideas, plus there's going to be all the YouTube shorts, plus there's going to be 10 players you didn't know about, plus there's going to be 10 strikers you need to sign, all those sort of YouTube shorts involved in the mix as well. Okay, so the next question is quite interesting to say the very least, and I have been asked this on multiple occasions, by the way. But Hazza913 says, well, congrats on 20k. Thank you very much, good sir. I have to wonder, do you know another FIFA/FC YouTuber named Brom18? I don't know, do I? If so, did he inspire your channel name and creating tactics? So I do know Brom18, of course. I think the YouTube space that I'm the YouTube space that I'm in, the channel, there's not a lot of, consistent FIFA YouTubers who create tactics. Brom 18 is the biggest, and then there's a few of us, right? So yeah, I would be very silly to say I don't know who that is. Of course I know who that is. I've commented on some of his videos as well. I've even spoken to him on Twitter back when I was on like 1,000 subscribers. I was like asking him a bunch of questions, and he was really nice and he answered them. And I even asked him, because at that point he hadn't really been uploading. I was like, oh dude, why aren't you uploading? And I think this was for FIFA 23, could have been, maybe FIFA 22, I don't know. It was back then. And he was just like, he just didn't like the game and stuff. So I was like, oh, fair enough. So yes, I do know of him. I've interacted with him. Very limited, but I have interacted with him. I think he's even commented on one of my videos, which is absolutely amazing. And I do hope that in some part of the future, he does come back to YouTube and he enjoys playing FC26. Hopefully it's a better game. He'll then start making more tactics. But he didn't inspire my channel's name. I had my channel before I knew of Brom 18. A long story short with no context whatsoever. My channel name, Brom Squad, because that's what my channel was called at first. Brom Squad, the word Brom is what my friends in high school started calling me. That was my effective nickname. It started off with spelling my actual name, Brendan, incorrectly, and then just the term Brom ended up sticking. I then ended up attaching that to Squad, and it was then called Brom Squad, and then later Brom Squad Gaming, shortened to BSG. And that is how I came up with my channel name. I then also discovered Brom 18, like 2 years after creating my channel, because my channel was originally created. It was just before COVID. That's when I created my channel, and I started doing YouTube. And it's only been the last 2 or 3 years that I've taken YouTube very seriously to the point where it's grown to this, what it is now. But I would say Brom 18 was a big inspiration for me making tactics videos. And I'll tell you why. So I was originally going to quit YouTube. I was making career mode videos, and that was more or less all I was doing. Then I started like dabbling in trying to make player faces. I made the Garnacho face. That did kind of well at the time. But I watched Brom 18 and I watched his videos and I was like, wow, I like this. Because I do like the tactical side of football. And I was like, cool, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to try do what he does. Maybe not to the insane level that he was doing it at, but I'm going to try and do that. And so I ended up making Manchester United's Erik ten Hag prediction tactics of how it might work out. And so I made that video and I was like, this will be my last video that I ever make on YouTube. I posted it. I went out with my friend. I was also like halfway through like university, working a full-time job. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I need to, take life seriously. I'm still not taking life seriously, but here we are. And the video did quite well. It was like my best performing video at that time because I ended up going out, came home, and the video was on like 500 views. And I was like, wow, that is absolutely insane. So yeah, like he did inspire me to do what I do now. And I will never ever shy away from that. But I would say the way my videos are now created and are formatted and stuff, very different to his, which I think is a good thing. Can only be a good thing. I think that answers your questions. I think that gives you some insight into how I ended up in this situation. But yes, so yeah, cool. Okay, on to the next question, and this is from JC Mitchell. Congrats, well deserved. Thank you. Any plans on dropping Chelsea World Cup final tactics or too small a sample size? I will not be dropping the Chelsea World Cup final tactics because it was a one-game thing. I tend to do tactics based on multiple games, more or less consistent tactical approaches and styles of play. If I was to do one game tactics, I would never do half the tactics that I do, or for the various teams, because every Man United fan would say from game week 1 through to game week 38, create the Amorim tactics because there was a slight little difference and tweak, and Bruno played here and this player played there. And so no, I don't create individual game tactics unless it's absolutely insane and then it leads to something bigger and better. But even then, I think I've done it once. I will not be replicating the Club World Cup final tactics for Chelsea. In fact, I've created 2 Chelsea tactics in the last week, and those are more consistent and more or less how Maresca is looking to shape the team up heading into the new season. So there is that too. Lewis 10 Domaka 8 says, what has been your favorite tactics recreation? Now, if you're talking about the amount of enjoyment that I've had recreating a set of tactics, quite a few of the retro tactics, obviously, because it's nostalgia and it's really cool being able to give back to the community in a way, trying to replicate that as best as possible with the obviously upgraded systems and so on. If we take a look at some of the tactics I've recreated in terms of the retro tactics, I just need to find them. Throwback, there we go. Throwback tactics. Now, obviously, throwback tactics for FC25 have been limited because I've more or less split them across YouTube and Patreon. That'll continue to happen heading into next FC. But if we look at this, for example, I'm a Man United fan, so the 08 tactics are fantastic. But also, let me say this, the legendary Zidane tactics are also great to use in FC. I mean, if you're out of this list, the tactics that I would probably lean to the most, and that's just because they're relatively newer, they translate a bit better into the newer games. It's probably going to be one of, Jurgen Klopp's 2019 Liverpool, or possibly Hansi Flick's triple winning Bayern Munich. There is that. But in terms of like my most favorite tactics that I've created so far, Hansi Flick's Barcelona 4-3-3 tactics. The fluidity, the movement, and it could also be because the team is really good, it's got high rated players, so it just feels better. It could also play a factor in that. But if we're talking about all time, there's a lot of tactics that I've just really, really enjoyed. Whether it's Pep Guardiola's 3-2-4-1 tactics in FIFA, or sorry, FC 24. But if we're talking about all time tactics, there's quite a few. Whether it's from FIFA 22, you could probably say the original set of tactics that I made, the Erik ten Hag potential Manchester United team, because obviously that landed me in this position that I'm in now. But if we just take a look here, there's so many, man. There's so many good tactics that I've made. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass. But there is. I'm proud of my work. I am proud of my work. But I'd probably also say Erik ten Hag's 2018-19 Ajax tactics. Those were probably my favorite tactics from FC 24. I just liked how Frenkie de Jong was able to drop into the centre-back role for like the one formation, then he was up in the midfield for the other, then it just worked really well with that rotational type system. I mean, I even replicated the latter Erik ten Hag 21-22 Ajax like side and system. That was pretty cool. The Jurgen Klopp gegenpressing symphony, that was also really dope. But to be honest, and I don't know, it's not here because there's too many. This thumbnail here is the thumbnail I chose because I would probably say the Conte Juventus tactics were the best tactics that I made. Understanding, researching, knowing how the players moved and played, Pogba, Arturo Vidal, Pirlo at the base of the midfield, how they like shaped up on the defensive end. That was probably like one of my all-time top 5 favorites in terms of doing the research, doing the gameplay, creating the tactics, editing the video, and all that good stuff. But there are so many to go through. I would be sitting here all day if I had to say, but it would probably be a mix of the mentioned, tactics that I've created. So I hope that answers your question. So the next question is from Shirednika2900, a good friend of mine. Who is the best defender you've ever played with on FIFA? Who is the top 5, or who is your top 5? This is a defender, centre-back, full-back, or defensive midfielder. Okay. Who you could always trust to defend any player and was impossible to get past. Top 5. So I started playing FIFA back in 2009. I got it on my PSP and it was really cool. I was like, damn, look at this. I also played PES. Was it PES 10, I think? And that more or less got me onto the pathway of complete and utter destruction and annihilation. But I'm probably going to be really like super recency biased because obviously it's fresh in my brain. But Virgil van Dijk over like the last 2 or 3 FIFAs/FCs has been super overpowered. And of course, he's the best defender in the world. You can't really argue against it. Super strong in the air, super good on the ground, super just strong, shrug off your players and stuff. So I would probably say him. There's also Mickey van der Ven, who I would probably put Mickey van der Ven for FC 25 above Van Dijk, simply because Van der Ven is so fast. He is so quick, it's unbelievable. So there is that. As for like back in the day, you could say Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic. I mean, I haven't played those FIFAs in a long time, so I could be just lying, but I'm pretty sure, FIFA 10, FIFA 11, 12, some good defenders. There was also Matt Hummels from back in the day when he was first at Borussia Dortmund. He was absolutely like monumental. There's also Jerome Boateng, of course. Sergio Ramos. Gee, there's so many. I couldn't actually give you a top 5 because there's also like, if you're including defensive midfielders, there's N'Golo Kante, there's Sergio Busquets, probably like the best defensive midfielder of the modern era. There's also Rodri, who I mean, look, I don't play with I've never played with Rodri. Well, I have played with Rodri, I would be lying. But like, I haven't actually played loads of games with Rodri to really be like, he is the best. But I've played loads with Kante, I've played loads with Busquets from back in the day. But there is a lot of like defenders you could definitely say are amazing. And I mean, I have listed some really good ones. I can't remember of any like super low-key ones. There's also David Alaba. He was like a defensive midfielder slash centre-back slash left-back when he was playing for Bayern Munich under Pep. He was also pretty difficult to get past because he was also very quick. Like Philipp Lahm was also there, super technical, but he wasn't quick, so you could easily just burst past him with a speedy player. Should we say Mickey van der Ven first? Because I honestly despise when I see him in FIFA. Then I'd probably say Virgil van Dijk. Sergio Ramos, you could probably say from FIFA 14 all the way through to like FIFA 19, FIFA 20. That was when he was like peak, like crazy, really quick across the ground, super physical, super aggressive, all that stuff. Mats Hummels. Now this is basically just centre backs, but Mats Hummels from like FIFA 13, or was it FIFA 12? One of those FIFAs. I remember Mats Hummels being so good because I used to like love playing with Borussia Dortmund. So Mats Hummels, and then probably N'Golo Kante. But again, I'm leaving off so many really top amazing players. But yeah, I'd probably say those 5. Anybody down below in the comment section, if you've gotten to this point in the video, let me know your top 5. Let me know when you started playing FIFA or FC. Could be recent. And let me know your top 5. Double barrel question. If you answer it, amazing, I'll interact. So Shider's also posted another question here saying, which club do you play against the most? In other words, who is the go-to opponent when you play just a random game? Okay, it's Liverpool. It is Liverpool. I mean, not ready for FC 25 because Liverpool are really good and Man United are really bad, but it's Liverpool. It also used to be Arsenal when Arsenal were really bad. I think like FIFA 20, I played Arsenal quite a bit. But normally whenever I get like a new FIFA, the first video on the channel for that new FIFA is Manchester United versus Liverpool, and I'm testing out the gameplay. And that's normally how it has always been. In terms of me making videos though, I normally go on the team schedule. So it's either the game that they've recently played or the game that they're going to play. And then I select that team and I go team v team, make the tactics, make the clips, all that stuff. So there is that. But I would probably say over the last 15 years, probably a bit longer, I don't know now. When was 2009? 16, 17 years ago? It's been Man United v Liverpool. So, there we go. Prab115 says, congrats. Thank you, good sir. Thank you, good sir. What do you think EA could do differently that would take career mode to a different level and make it more fun for us players and give content creators more content? You know what? In all honesty, there is so much EA could do just to improve it. And I know without a doubt in my mind, I'm going to FC 26 on for the first time, start that Man United career mode. There will be a few cool things that they've added, but it won't be what we really wanted. Off the top of my head, right? I've played PES, right? I've played NBA 2K. And in both of those games, they've allowed the audience, the players, to go on and kind of mod the game and create squads so that it's downloadable content for free, of course, for other players who might be interested. That would be amazing. Simply incredible. Imagine, right? You could go on and download the 2012 squads. You could have Prime Barclays Premier League football in a career mode. Robin Van Persie is still at Arsenal at that point. Wayne Rooney's at Man United. We've got Nani on the wing, Valencia, Evra, Rafael's a right back. All of these players, and you could have the time of your life. That's another thing. NBA 2K, they've introduced retro teams. Imagine, right? It's not even downloadable content now. It's not even stuff that the other players have created. It's what the actual company has created. So when I say you can then use an era's Manchester United team, maybe you can download the 2013 Manchester United side, but then you could download them or use them with their 3 different kits. And you could play the 2008 Manchester United side. Look, it could probably be a lot of more work, but just that one thing would be so insane. It would be so amazing. Having 1v1 duels with your friends. 08 Man United versus 2004 Arsenal. Who was the better side? Well, let's play. Let's see. Obviously, I would always win, but still, it would be cool. It would be cool. I mean, the videos that I could create with that. Pep's treble-winning side versus Sir Alex Ferguson's treble-winning side. The tactics for each versus them up against each other. The CPU sees who wins. You have Roy Keane snapping Erling Haaland just like how he did his dad a few years ago. It would be cool, man. It would be really cool. But for like career mode, I would like to see like a director of football mode where you can go in. Now, Jason Wilcox is the Man United version of the director of football. And it's just a completely different mode, effectively. You deal with the transfers, you deal with recruitment, you deal with transfer strategies, all these different things. It would be a lot more analytical, but it would just be a different approach, you know? I would also like to see maybe a career mode where you start off as like the under-18s coach and you manage them and you develop these young players to the point where if there's a lot of success, they actually get their opportunities in the first team. Or you know how FC26, they've stated that the managers will definitely be hired and fired and recycled and all this stuff. That literally opens up a pathway for you to develop from the under 18s coach to the under 21s coach to maybe getting a job opportunity in another club, sure. Or if Ruben Amorim gets fired and you've been the under 18s coach for the last 5 years, you get the opportunity to step in as the caretaker. You do really well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer vibes, you get the full-time job. That would be amazing. And then you already know the youth like players that are coming through, and then you can move them up and down. And that's another thing. I want to be able to say to the young youth player, there's an FA Cup game versus Plymouth Argyle. I'd like to have you on the bench. Cool, promote you to the first team. Amazing. You might get your 5-10 minutes. But after that game, I'm putting you back in the youth team. Just small things like that. That would be cool. I'd also like to see an actual kids development system, because playing with the same kits season in, season out, after the first 5 seasons, you're like, I'm so tired of seeing the same damn kits. I'd like to see us have a bit more options when it comes to selecting the kits. Allow us to mismatch the shorts and the socks and the shirts, just like how we do the boots and the wristbands and stuff like that. That would be cool. That would be amazing. Because even if they didn't introduce the brand new kits season in, season out, the fact that I can then mismatch clothing items would still give a new and slightly better feel to the game. So there's a few ideas for you. Oh my goodness. So Shide has asked here, which is your all-time favorite football team to play with? And by that I mean, which club / country, in which season, and from which FIFA is your all-time favorite to play with? Oh my absolute goodness. Can you give a top 5? You're making my life very difficult here. I don't even think I could say a top 5. A slightly different question, okay? So you're following up the 2 questions with a slightly different question, okay? Which, in your opinion, are your top 5 best teams ever on FIFA? They don't have to necessarily be your favorite to play with, but objectively, you consider them top 5 best teams ever made by EA. I don't even know. Okay, my favorite team to play with all time. You know, I would probably say FIFA 20, Bayern Munich. They were absolutely overpowered and insane. You had Gnabry, Lewandowski, Koeman, super pacey. And of course, it was also FIFA 20, so pace was like the go-to thing. You then had like Muller, and was James Rodriguez in that team, I think? Or maybe it was it Coutinho? It could have been Coutinho. No, why am I saying James Rodriguez? That was like a few years before then. It was Coutinho, not James Rodriguez. You also had Coutinho, you had prime Thiago pinging those balls around. It was a thing of insanity and beauty, and of course the speed and the pace of Alaba in the backline with Boateng, and then you had Davies, and you had Joshua Kimmich as well, and then of course you had Manuel Neuer. So I'd probably say, because of how like insanely overpowered it was, maybe it was Bayern Munich. Now in terms of trying to rank a top 5, I think that's so difficult, but I probably could say the 09 Manchester United. Now there was also a team from the 09 PSP game that I played. It was Bayern Munich. I'm pretty sure it was Bayern Munich, and it had Mark Van Bommel in it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it did. And I used to play a career mode with Van Bommel. So just for nostalgia purposes, I'd probably say Van Bommel. Van Bommel, you see, Bayern Munich. But from what I can remember, I'd probably say FIFA 14 Real Madrid. There's also the FIFA, it could be FIFA 12 or FIFA 13 Borussia Dortmund. Really love playing with them. Bayern Munich from FIFA 20. You know, PSG from FIFA 20 also were not bad. But then there's also the Real Madrid from like FIFA 17. So Real Madrid, Dortmund, Bayern, Real Madrid from FIFA, we'll say FIFA 17 for argument's sake. Or maybe even FIFA 16. And then, you know, I really had a lot of fun with Arsenal. It's so weird to say, but I used to really cook with Arsenal. Like, I used to really do well with Arsenal, but I can't remember which FIFA it was from. It could have been FIFA 18, could have been FIFA 19, but I was really good with Arsenal at one point. It could have even been like earlier FIFAs, maybe even FIFA 15. I'm thinking. But I was really good with Arsenal at one point, and I was also really good with Chelsea as well. But yeah, I'd probably say those 5. Those 5. Got Real Madrid twice, got Dortmund, we got Bayern, we got Arsenal. Could even throw in a few Man United teams, to be fair. And then the third part of your question is the best teams ever made. Now, so let me say this. I could probably throw that Arsenal team. I can't remember if it was from FIFA 15, 16, or 17. But that Arsenal team with Alexis Sanchez and Ozil and Giroud and so on, that was a really well-constructed team. But so was the Juventus side from FIFA, I'm pretty sure it's FIFA 15, where Pogba was still there. That Juventus team was absolutely cracked out of its mind. Giving you another top 5 here. You could even say Borussia Dortmund from FIFA 17. Obviously, EA paid a lot of specific attention to Dortmund because Marco Reus was the cover star and so on. So you could throw them in there. Who else? City, to be fair. City, you could throw City over like the last... You could throw any City team in from the last 4 or 5 years. City have always been a very dominant and difficult side to go up against. So they were really well constructed. And obviously, when you have super high overalls and stuff. Maybe for argument's sake, we would throw in the City that had like prime Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, young Bernardo Silva, young Phil Foden. So you could probably say City. And then the 5th one, I don't even know, man. You know what I'd love to do? I'd love to go back and play all of the FIFAs again. Just to have like a bit of a refresh. Now, I don't have a PS4 anymore. I don't have a PS3 and so on. So I can't go back to, replay them. But I'd love to, though. I'm trying to think. I can't think of a 5th one. But again, you guys can let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. Give me your top 5 lists and all that stuff. And I'd love to interact with you because I'm obviously on the spot right now and I can't really think. But I've given you a top 4 at least of teams that were just really like well put together. You could even throw in the World 11. That is the most well put together FIFA team of all time. Anyways, moving on. MMDJ3ME says, how long does it take to create your videos? Oh, I would probably say with the videos that I create these days, slightly more editing involved, it probably takes about a day or 2 days. So the process is I start with watching footage and stuff, but I won't even include that. I obviously watch the footage. I then create the tactics. I then test out those tactics a bunch of times. And that probably takes about 2 hours, give or take. Once I'm then happy with how that works, I then start creating the little pop-up things that you see and stuff like that, plus the thumbnail, plus the little, slide images and all that. That probably takes about an hour with taking the photos in game, then doing the editing of it, and then turning it into PNGs and all that good stuff. Then it comes to me writing out the script, which takes about an hour and a half maybe, depending on how distracted I am for the day. If I'm scrolling through Twitter or if something's happening on Twitter with transfers and stuff, I get quite distracted. And I'll normally get distracted when typing out the script. But then I'll type out the script another hour and a half. Then obviously comes to the recording, and the recording, if it's a good day, the recording can take 30 minutes. If it's a bad day, the recording can take an hour. And obviously that also extends the editing time. Once that's done, I then go into Premiere Pro. I then do a whole lot of clipping, clip, turn a 15-minute recording video into a 10 to 15-minute recording. And then I've got everything compressed and reduced to how I want the video to turn out. Then I start doing the gameplay, and then I play like 5 to 10 games, getting certain angles, certain goals and all that stuff, things that actually apply to what I'm saying in my original recording. That takes like an hour, maybe 2 hours. Depends on, again, it depends on how quick I can get to the various different things that I speak about. I remember there was like a video I made a few weeks ago. I could not get this one thing, and it took me an hour just to try and get the one specific thing that I wanted. I think it was like either it was pressing that leads to a goal or something like that. So yeah, that also ranges, and then obviously then I have to take that, export it, and then put it into the video, make sure it all makes sense, make sure that the timing of it all aligns correctly. So that's why I say it takes a day or 2 days, because I like having my videos out at around 5 to 6 p.m. in South Africa, which wherever you are in the world, the normal time that the video comes out, that's the time. But like a year, maybe 2 years ago, when I was pumping out a video virtually every single day, that was the older way that I was editing. It was just gameplay above me talking. That would take like 3 or 4 hours in terms of recording, editing, gameplay, putting it all together. Not even including the actual watching of games and getting clips and understanding that stuff. Yeah, I mean, the research does take a while as well, because I do like to watch like 2 or 3 games, as well as also have context to how the manager plays, and I also look at SofaScore, and I look at FootMob, and I look at all these different apps and heat maps and try and understand how the player moves here and there and every other way. So yeah, currently a day and a half, maybe 2 days. So the next question is a bit cheeky, but Iswi Amenzu, apologies if I've butchered that, has said, when are you going to start an FC26 giveaway? Congrats, by the way. Well, firstly, thank you, good sir. Secondly, right now, I will not be doing that. I cannot afford to do that. So, unfortunately, not. But I would say, maybe in the future, that could be something that I might be able to do. It would revolve around this channel obviously growing a lot more, and obviously being a lot bigger. Harry Jackson 7502 has said here, what has been your favorite tactic to use in FC25? Now, I've already kind of answered this, but my favorite tactic to use is the 4-3-3 Hansi Flick FC Barcelona tactics in FC25. Like I can't remember if I said this, but I think it's down to the fact that there are so many really good players involved in that system. So the fluidity and the movement and the amount of goals you score and the amount of possession that you can maintain is probably very overpowered. But I've had the most fun using that system. In fact, I've used that system, obviously we're not making a video, quite a lot in various career modes because it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of freedom, fluidity, and it makes me feel a certain kind of way. Also, might I say, the Montpellier tactics that I use for that career mode, what was the formation? Like a 4-3-2-1. I think it was a 4-3-2-1. That formation and those tactics, not specific to any real life team, but those tactics were very, very nice as well. So, Wes Bottlejob, love the name, says, congrats, what has been your most difficult tactic to replicate? The Johan Cruyff tactics, the 3 diamond 3 tactics, to the point where I haven't actually put the video out. That has been the most difficult, trying to really understand how things move and rotate, because there's so little that you have control over, because FC25's tactics system is so limited that the players don't move correctly, and I refuse to put out a set of tactics that I'm not happy with. I mean, look, most of the tactics I'm not happy with because of how limited the system is, but for that, it's just something that I don't think would ever really happen unless FIFA or EA or PES or whoever were able to then really create a proper system for tactics and allow us to have a lot more tactical freedom. So there is that too. But in terms of tactics that I have made, let's have a look. Again, going all-time tactics is kind of crazy because goddamn, that's a lot of them. You know, it could even be like the Bologna tactics from last year, or maybe even the Girona tactics, because I did end up making them when they were kind of still relatively unknown. So the amount of research that I had to do in those videos was kind of crazy. But I must say, if I'm being brutally honest, it's a lot of the tactics where the teams aren't well known, or the teams aren't, you know, there's not a lot of information out there about them, because it means that I then have to spend more time watching a lot more footage and trying to find more information. So that is probably a key indicator of what would make it the most difficult. And then obviously, like I say, if it's virtually impossible to really try and understand and make in the game. I mean, even to an extent, Thiago Motta's Juventus tactics, or the Bologna tactics, like I said, getting the centre backs to move freely up the pitch is such a difficult thing. You have to send them on runs, you have to move with the ball, with them in possession up the field, and then you open up spaces. And then we know that if you open up spaces in your back line, if you get broken on or counted on, it's very frustrating. So maybe a Thiago Motta, very unorthodox systems, I could say, are very difficult to try and make. So we're at the latter stages of the video. Thank you very much for getting to this point. If you don't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. Does the whole little algorithm thing, and maybe 30k arrives a bit sooner. Who knows? But another question here from Shayad Nika 2900. What are the 3 FIFA gameplay hacks that only pros know, like you? I'm not a pro, by the way, but they're easy enough to do and will make everyone a better player. Bro has asked me like the hardest questions. Brain power. I would probably say, I don't know if I have 3, but I have 2. One's to do with tactics and one's to do with temperaments. There we go. Temper tactics. Don't get mad. So easier said than done. I get mad all the time with this game, especially in FC25. Obviously with FCIQ and how that works, it's designed to expose the gaps that you as the player create, right? So if you are trying to make a tackle and you take your defensive midfielder out of position, they'll rotate players into the central areas of the pitch to create that overload. Then you switch to your backline players, and then you take Lisandro Martinez and try and make a tackle. You've now opened up a big gaping hole in your back line, and then all it takes is for a few one-touch passes, through ball, exposing that space, and you are taken out. What I would say is, to try and stop that, I've seen a lot of pros actually not control their backline. They let their backline sit and maintain its shape, and they just use their midfielders to track back until they really need to make that switch to one of the centre backs, and then they make the tackle. So probably use your midfielders to track back, use your wingers as well to try and track back, because obviously we know that with FC25, a lot of the players either they don't get forward or either they don't get back. So use those players that don't get back and run back with them. it'll help create that better defensive structure. The tactics side of it is try and create a balanced approach, and we see this in real life football tactics as well. If we take Pep Guardiola's 3-2-4-1 system, the easiest thing for Pep to do is just to overload the opposition all the time and have only 2 centre-backs back. But he's also understood that you need a balance in your team. You need to have 3 players at the back if you're building out from the back. You need to have 3 players in case of, crazy transitions. And that's something that I would suggest that, FC25 players and just FIFA players in general try and create when they're creating their own tactics. Because of course, we can all go and create these weird and funky tactics where we have double inverting fullbacks and bombing on wingers. But at the same time, you also need to try and have that idea of, okay, it works in possession, but maybe it overcrowds the central areas of the pitch. Maybe I lose the ball too much there. Maybe I only need to have 1 inverting fullback and 1 fullback stays back. Kind of like what Enzo Maresca does. So yeah, try and maintain a balanced viewpoint of how you want your team playing. So that's from the tactics and temperaments. Again, I don't really know. I think the temperament bits, I gave you a few bits of input. But yeah, that would be my best advice for everyone. Maybe, to improve, you guys can download, or not download, you guys can go and look at the Brom Squad Gaming sliders, which I've made with the help of certain individuals, and they work really well, and they make the entire game just a joy to play. So there is that too. Be sure to check it out. I will link it at the end of this video, if I remember. So then, the last question is Baba Yay... God damn it. Baba Yay YG.A. Biggest. I know I've messed that up, but I do apologize. It says here, where are you from? Because your accent sounds South African. Well, born and raised in the motherland. Yes, that is me. I am South African. It says here, if you are, Pirates or Chiefs. Now, for those of you who don't know, those are probably, along with Sundowns, our most famous football teams. Look, I also don't watch a lot of PSL. I watch Premier League football, the League of Football, Serie A. I don't really dabble in South African football. But I don't choose any of those because, and I saw this earlier, which was, it made me laugh. Shahid Naika 2900, yet again, he says, it's still United, but it's Maritzburg United. So I am from Pietermaritzburg, and we used to have a team called Maritzburg United, and that would probably be the team that I would choose, just because of, I'm from the city and stuff like that. But that team now no longer exists, so that's quite sad. So I don't choose either. I don't choose Pirates and I don't choose Chiefs. I choose a relatively distant memory team in Maritzburg United. So yes, there we go. The end of the Q&A celebrating 20k. I do hope you guys have better insights to me as an individual, to the direction of the channel, and you're content with all the answers that I've provided. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I'm going to have to damn near edit the absolute stuffing out of it to get it down to like a decent time. Anyways, I hope you guys have a smashing goddamn day. And I'm out of here. Peace. Woo!